Hey, what is going on, you guys? My name is Rayge, and we are back today with a quick update video in regards to one of the features that have been recently added now officially into the game. So this is the new Jarvis system that's actually going to provide strategic recommendations. So you may have seen this J with symbol as you've been progressing in the game, and I'm here to break it down for you guys, as well as detail how to utilize this as well, whether or not you should or should not be. So having said that, guys, let's get right to it. First and foremost, these suggestions and recommendations are something that we have been looking for as players in the community, especially in game. We utilize the MarvelStrikeForce.com website quite a bit in order to get those recommendations and analysis, but now it does look like that has been actually infused into the game and seems to have some connection to pull that data as well. So it's a big addition in theory, right? However, keep in mind, these are suggestions for things like, when you're going through the campaign and raid team compositions. Maybe you're a newer player and you're just not sure if this is the right team to build. We're going to touch on that a little bit more later on, but maybe you're a mid-game player on transitioning end-game and you want to build these end-game teams. And that's, in theory, how these suggestions or recommendations should help. There's also an ability upgrade component. So when you're leveling up characters, which abilities are best be upgraded and maximized, obviously, especially since there's a lot of overwhelming amount of information in the game. What exactly should you be looking for? Well, if we're able to pull that data, that does help us, especially if we know that the community is also doing the same. And then as well, you can apply that to the ISO 8 class, as these are the theory crafting aspects of the game where we can mix match certain synergies and try to maximize. So having said that, guys, we're going to break down each one specifically so that way you can get a good sense of how these are operating in tandem. So first and foremost, one of my personal favorites so far has actually been the implementation of how Jarvis is utilized in the upgrades. So I mean, when you're looking at a character, such as Captain America, what ISO 8 should you be using? What upgrades should you be maximizing? Unless you just have resources and you want to use them across the board, most of the time we want to min-max. We want to utilize what has great value. So now, if you go into any of the abilities now for any character, and obviously for my character, it's already leveled up. You hit the ability on the top left. You see there's an arrow there. Typically, if you haven't upgraded this would be a J. So let's open that real quick. This Jarvis system is going to come over here and just show us the recommendations. And you can see what's really cool is that it actually shows us respectively the upgrades that are done, and as well which one that you upgrade in turn. So his Captain America's passive is typically the one that's upgraded first here, as you can see, then followed by a special, then his basic, and then finally his ultimate. And you can see it's a 61% overall high, which means it's coming from the statistics from MarvelStrikeForce.com that this is a pretty good upgrade that most folks take advantage of. The one thing I don't like about this screen is the fact that no matter what they implement into the game, it seems like they always want to sell something back to the consumer base, right? So you can see here on the left, we got this special offer for the next 3 hours and 52 minutes for the 80 T4s for $12.99 or 100 of their featured cores. Having said that, guys, I feel like that was a little bit over the top. You don't need to advertise it so much, and you're gonna see this recurring theme as we progress with this update review. But I mean, I like the fact that now we finally can get a good sense of the upgrades, because a lot of times, especially if you're a newer player in the game and you're not sure which ones to upgrade, let's take a look at Super Scroll. Is it available for characters that you haven't had yet? Yes. So if you hit the J there, and this is really cool. So it does not have submission data to display abilities, the priorities yet, just probably because of the fact that he's not, not a lot of players have him in the game. So let's try another one. We saw Miss Marvel Hard Light being recently released. Let's take a look at the J and see if this is there. So yes, this is cool. We already do have this as well, and you can see here passive usually followed by ultimate, then special and basic. So this is just good amount of information, especially if you're brand new and you're not really sure. I do like the fact that it does give you some good data now to actually get a sense if you're on the right direction. Obviously, at the end of the day, make sure you read each and every one of the abilities so that way you know exactly what you're upgrading, and so you can understand it as well. But it's cool that we do now have some sort of data to lean on. Having said that, guys, another big one is, on this note, the ISO 8. A lot of players have always speculated which ISO 8 is recommended for each player or character, where are the different variants. Well, now if you go hit the ISO 8 categorization here, again, we see that little Jarvis symbol. We'll hit that. and it does give us a recommendation now. So you can see here, it even pulls up a statistic that says, 40% of players do use this ISO class. Players with Captain America gear tier 12 or higher, you can see it's fortifier. So the one thing I will remind you folks to be cautious on is if you do see that there's a pretty high probability of 40%, it's in that middle where it could be swayed to another ISO weight. So what I don't like about this one is that it doesn't give you a couple of the top recommendations, right? For example, Captain America could be a healer. He could be a skirmisher as well. I'm actually using him as a skirmisher in Dark Dimension 6. It's been working great because he can apply the vulnerability. But again, it could be dependent on the situation. So I'll give you another example of one that's a little bit more clear and obvious. Kang the Conqueror, straight up, he's a very, very obvious striker ISO weight. So we hit the Jarvis details here. You do see here that it does say 66% of players use this as striker. So that's a little bit more obvious. It means, more than half of the majority of folks are using him as a striker, which is pretty telling, right? So if you guys see 30-40%, I'd be a little bit more cautious on that recommendation. I would still take a look at the statistics online just to make sure. But what I don't like is, how they don't add another secondary or second favorite ISO weight. So that way you do get some more insight. And again, similar to my first comment on the special offers, there's no need to put this ISO, the ISO 4 and 5s on the left are for selling. I mean, these are just hard materials and the prices are absolutely outrageous. Do not recommend, guys. But I do value what is provided in the suggestions here for both the ISO 8 and the T4s, because I think that actually does have a lot of confusion in the game, especially when you're progressing. I think that's a huge value add, and now we actually do get some value out of that. Sorry guys, that was a misclick on my part. I'm just gonna quickly back out of here. But now allow me to show you guys the first, probably one of the more significant components of this is the fact that, when you're going through raids now, this is the one I don't like actually out of all the features that Jarvis has had. So right now we're doing Doom Incursion raids. Let me go through my Mystic team. I don't like how it's trying to sell you a certain team. So when you hit here for a raid and you hit J for Jarvis, it's pretty much, this is the Bifrost team that's brand new, and it's even telling you that you need to upgrade all your characters to this, and I don't like that because of the fact that it doesn't give you options to teams that work. So my team actually, the team that actually can get through this is pretty darn close to what I have on screen right now, except the only difference is I have Icarus, and then let me hit Jarvis here. My team is about 1.4 million right now. I don't like how it doesn't even factor in the team I'm utilizing, and once again just throws that special offer to the left there and telling you which team you need to build, when in actuality, guys, you don't need Bifrost to get this node done. But that's kind of how it's segueing. So I caution newer players and mid-game players, if you guys are using Jarvis for the raids, I don't know if that's going to be valuable. And as well, they give you some pretty crazy numbers of going through it. So 1.3 million of the Bifrost is not recommended. Let me go through my alpha and see what that recommends as well. I just want to see how far off this is, right? So if it join here, and typically I'll just throw in my Infinity Watch here, 850k can get the job done. Let's see what Jarvis recommends, right? Let's see the difference. So the Jarvis team is only 230k. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, the alpha rates are super easy right now, and this is even giving you the suggestions of the team and synergies to use. So you know what, this one is a little better in the sense that it does actually give you the right suggestions. So again, it's going to kind of depend on experience, but that's why I urge you guys to be cautious here, because now let's give it a shot for simming. It's just, if you don't have that background knowledge of knowing which teams work and don't, I think that's the fear here. It's that you can be investing in something that potentially doesn't need to be that high up, and then obviously costing you money that you don't need to spend. So for reasons when your teams are overtuned and more than enough and more than prepared to do this, it is actually pretty nice that it does give you that recommendation and you can just go through. So there is some quality of life additions there. So I do vouch for that. But again, make sure you guys are aware of which teams are going to be recommended and do your research. That's the one part I would caution. But I mean, anytime that you can save time in the game, anytime that you can give players another tool to utilize, I think that's absolutely huge. Those are my thoughts on Jarvis. It can definitely be useful, but for sure there can be revisions that are made. So yeah, let me know what you guys think in comments below. Hopefully they take away some of the offer stuff that's kind of just blowing up in your face. But anytime we get some more analysis on our side, I'm all for it. Thank you as always, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.